Welcome to Life Fit with DVD, back again with another video. And today I wanted to talk about 5 reasons why it's important to not be an expert and just be yourself. And this is really important for me in particular. And I think that it's probably important for a lot of people as well to hear this because for the longest time, I have wanted to be an expert, right? I have been striving to be an expert in some sort of field or vocation designation. And, you can get all sorts of certifications, degrees, all sorts of accolades where it takes you through the process where you learn it, right? However, getting a degree by something that is based in a book and taking tests and just kind of memorizing things only gets you so far. You need the experience. And what I have found through my entire life is that it's great to have knowledge around certain areas, and obviously it's very lucrative for a job or whatever. You gain lots of recognition and respect for being knowledgeable in a certain area, but at some point you realize that that knowledge will only get you so far, and anything else that comes from it typically comes from a degree of arrogance and hubris that disconnects you from other people and their perspectives. And I like to stay humbled. I like to consider other people's perspectives and not just look at things from a, hey, I'm the expert, this is what you need to do. Because everybody is different. I talk about that all the time here. Everybody has their unique gifts, their strengths, their weaknesses, the things that they cannot see. And the more experience that you have on both sides of being an expert at something, but also not being an expert about something and trying to learn something new, the more well rounded you're going to be and the more comprehensive knowledge that you will have to be able to apply to any sort of situation. So, in my opinion, it's really important to not pretend you're being an expert, right? You might have a degree, you might have certifications, but does it really make you an expert? Okay, well, maybe for the job it does, and that's great. I'm glad people are able to pursue their dreams and like do the things that they want in a specific field. But if you want to grow and you want to be better than you yourself have been in the past, well, you need to try different things. You need to get the experience. And some people just learn differently. I mean, that's me. Like, unfortunately, a certification and degree feels like it's like worthless. I mean, I guess, it's good because it gets you in on a ground level of, okay, you have this level of experience. But ultimately, the biggest gains that I have made in my own personal growth and understanding and education have been through experience. And maybe, just maybe, you need to go through this process of trying to get degrees and certifications and just trying things to see whether it's right for you. However, what I have found is not being an expert has been a great way to learn and be very careful about the things that you're doing in your life and critically thinking about things in a way that other people are going to miss. So, summing this back up, don't be an expert, be you. And the first way to do that is, and why it's important, is to have a fresh perspective. When you have a fresh perspective, you can see things different ways. Um, when you're in different environments, you're able to think outside the box. When you bring yourself out of that new environment and back into something that you might be trying to solve. So, this is why I think it's important to do different things, to try new experiences, activities outdoors, even indoors, different ways of thinking, reading, or playing video games, watching a movie, interacting with people, um, you know, open mic night stuff. There's all sorts of ways that you can stimulate your brain to expand its horizon and get yourself to think differently. Because once you start thinking differently about one thing, you'll be able to take the way that you had experienced that new thing back to the other things that you already have. So, this is why I think it's great to just get new experiences and try new things, even if those things might scare you, right? Um, I'm introverted. I'm very introverted. However, at the same time, I do find it exciting to go out and interact with people because I learn a lot about people on my own through my own, self-analysis and reflection. But then once I go out into the world, I can, kind of just interact with them and see how people respond and how interesting it is that people respond certain ways to the way I say certain things, and just wonder why they're the way that they are, and why people like certain things. It's just a genuine curiosity around people and experiences, and like, why do we do them? And ultimately, I think it's just great to experience everything that we can, because once again, it makes you more comprehensive in your knowledge than just being an expert. So the next thing is open-mindedness. Um, you know, non-experts, might have more learning that takes place, more exploration when they consider new ideas. And if you're an expert, I mean, you might be a little bit closed off to to new ways of thought. And there's all sorts of different ways to think about things, even in particular fields. I mean, some people specialize in a variety of different fields, and that makes them, a more comprehensive doctor or lawyer or financial expert when you learn different schools of thought around the bigger picture ideas. So keeping that open-mindedness is going to be critical for, figuring out yourself what is going to be a good risk to take, and to be more discerning of who really knows what's going on here, and who is maybe being a little bit closed-minded in how they think about the world. If they're telling you, oh no, this is how it needs to be done, well, there's always another way. And I think it's important to think about it multiple ways, because that's how you become better problem solvers. So to that end, being a better problem solver, it allows you to be flexible. It allows you to think differently about things, and consider different schools of thought. Like I had said, there's not a specific approach or methodology to doing certain things when you are not in a expert field, an expertise field. You can think about things all sorts of different ways. There's not a protocol to follow that you have to because of your job or whatever. Um, there's so many things in our society that just have become very robotic in how we go about interacting, especially with people. Um, and I think that roboticness, that, if that's a word, that just the rigidness in our thinking and interaction really doesn't help people, you solve your own problems, but also solve other people's problems. And there's a variety of different reasons I think this is. However, ultimately, this gets back to my next point, which is empathy, right? if you are pretending to be an expert, you might hold yourself to a certain standard where you have to be right, or you feel like you have to be right. Um, Otherwise, it's a negative reflection on you and your profession or your expertise or whatever. And if anybody, condescends you or not condescend, but maybe confronts you and asks you questions about why it is that they think a certain thing. If you're getting upset about them asking you questions, then maybe you have a little bit of kind of stuff around that you need to sort out. Why is it upsetting when somebody asks you a question about something they're just trying to gather more information on? And ultimately, asking the questions is what leads to more knowledge, right? And when you ask the right questions, it can bring you back to an empathy and a relatability to another person to show that you're not just an expert, but you're another human being, right? And we don't have everything figured out. The more that I learn about everything in this world, in this reality, the more I realize we know nothing. We really don't know. And I think there's things that you can basically put a degree of confidence in to, this for you, or this for the collective, um, or this for your particular tribe, but it doesn't make it 100%. It doesn't make it a guarantee. It's typically on some sort of scale where it's like this could be the issue, but not necessarily. Um, and it's more of just a probabilities based sort of problem solving skill and discernment to figure out what works for certain people and what doesn't. And some approaches, some methodologies that are advocated by experts aren't going to work for all experts or all people, right? So this is why ultimately, don't be an expert. Just be you. Ask questions, and if you feel like you're not getting through to somebody and you're getting that rigidity, you know, a rigidness around people that you're interacting with, ask them, a question. Maybe they get upset, maybe they get emotional about that, but that's not a reflection on you. Um, that's something that they're going through, and that's their stuff, right? All you're doing is asking questions. And I know I've done a video about asking questions and why it's important to question everything. So maybe this video is along the same lines, but ultimately it's important to be you, right? And to know you and know yourself and how you think, how you interact with the world. And the only way you're going to do that is through experience. Um, I'm always surprised at how much I grow from one experience to the next and how much things change, my perspectives change on things based on new pieces of information that I get. Um, we don't need to know everything. We don't need to be certain about everything. Yet, so many people have, I believe, this unconscious desire to like control, right? And you know, I think there are things though that parts of your life that you might need a greater degree of control around, and maybe you don't go with the flow as much around certain things. I have that too with certain routines that I have. If I start breaking down these routines because I want to go with the flow or whatever, well, you know that can be kind of destabilizing for me and affect the other layers of my life and the things that I'm you know working on or going through. Um, but ultimately, that doesn't have anything to do with being an expert or not being an expert. So anyway, I know this is kind of a roundabout way of explaining why it's important to not be an expert. And obviously, there's very important things to, or very important attributes to being an expert as well. But I just wanted to share this different perspective today. I thought it was, an interesting idea, something to talk about, and yeah. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Um, what are the areas that you think people need to be less of an expert around and more themselves? Ultimately, I think what a lot of people are looking for is relatability anymore. And I think there's just been a lack of trust that's been created around a lot of experts. And it would be in their best interest to humble themselves as well, I think, and try to get back to just being open to other ideas, other perspectives, and not put so much weight into everything else and their own self-worth, right? We're all here, we're all human, we all have consciousness, and as much as people might say, oh, this is the hierarchy, or, this is how it works, well, we're still all people. So I think that's the way to go in interacting with people, and I think people appreciate you for that, whatever their status or title. So, once again, be respectful to everybody, even if they don't necessarily respect you. You can always take yourself the other way. But yeah, let me know what you think. Otherwise, until next time, talk to you later.